Thank you for attending tonight's meeting of the Westerville City Schools Board of Education. We'll call the meeting to order, and the agenda will be displayed on screens in front of the room. You may also follow along by connecting to the district's website at wcsoh.org. Click on our district link, then select Board of Education, and then Board Docs Agenda, and select this evening's meeting. There will be two opportunities to address the board this evening, the first being Agenda Item 6.01. The first set of public comments is relative to agenda items 7.01 through 12.05. Please state the agenda items you are referencing at the beginning of your comments. The second opportunity is agenda item 13.01. There is a sign-up sheet located on the table in the rear of the room. Each speaker will have 5 minutes to address the board. And with that, Mr. Griffith, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Cotter?
Here.
Mrs. Davidson?
Here.
Dr. Nestor Baker?
Here.
Mr. Velardo?
Here.
Mr. Byrd?
Here. Will you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As we move to our first agenda item, district highlights and recognition, I believe I'm turning the program over to Vice President Rick Velardo.
Thank you, President Byrd. This is really one of the exciting things that I get to do as a community engagement liaison. I get to just read off some names, recognize some people. I know some are in the audience this evening. I know some could not be here with. Let me just begin with congratulating Cameron Gauntz from Central High School. Is Cameron here? I don't think so, but it's from Central High School, who finished third in the state in individual bowling. I think you ought to give him a hand. He's not here, but I think you ought to give him a hand for that. In addition to that, the Central High School bowling team finished 8th in the state, which I think is really awesome. So we want to congratulate Central and congratulate the team for all the hard work. Also like to congratulate some folks from North. Jared Clues. Is Jared here? I didn't think he'd be here, but I just wanted to check. He placed 13th at state swimming meet, and he was named All Ohio, which is really, I think, congratulating him as well. You can give him a round of applause. Also congratulating Brandon Goldsmith, North High School, who placed 6th at state wrestling tournament in the 170-pound class. So give him that as well. Now, I'm gonna go to the podium. We're going to recognize the Genoa Future City. We're just very, very excited about all that those kids have did. But I'm going to go to the podium, and Debbie Pellington, if you would join me up at the podium, please. And my colleagues, if you would go right in front here. I'm going to read a commendation, and then I will have Debbie come forward and introduce the kids, and they'll go forward and shake some hands and receive some commendations. But just real quickly before I read through this, this is just an incredible achievement that you all have done. So thank you for all the hard work. I know you put in hours of work, and we are just very honored to have you here. We get to recognize you while you had to do all the hard work, which is really good for us, right? That's the good part. Let me read this to you. Resolution of commendation for Genoa Middle School, whereas on Saturday, January 16, 2016, middle school students from throughout Ohio gathered at Columbus State Community College to compete in the state's Discover E's Future City Competition, and whereas teams wrote an essay on the topic Waste Not, Want Not, challenging them to think about how to design a waste management system for residential and commercial use. And whereas pupils also completed a computer component using SimCity software, created an engineering project plan, build a scale model of their city of the future using mostly recycled materials, and prepared a presentation to share. And whereas the Genoa Middle School team, guided by teacher Debbie Pellington and engineer Dino Torlone, created a city called that, set in futures. That's awesome. Set in futuristic Wales. And whereas Genoa not only won the state competition, but took first place for the best use of transportation, best use of recreation, and best use of ceramics, along with honorable mentions for best computer city design and best essay. And whereas Genoa earned the opportunity to represent the state of Ohio at the national competition in Washington, D.C., held from February 13 to 17, 2016, where they placed 10th overall and were selected as one of the teams to have their presentation broadcast in more than 43 languages worldwide. Therefore, be it resolved that the Westerville City Schools Board of Education and Superintendent commend the Genoa Middle School Future City team for their success and thank them for representing our school district and the state of Ohio with extreme honor and distinction. How about a big round of applause for these kids?
Dr. Kellogg, members of the school board, thank you for having us here tonight. Does anybody want to explain why it's called Baradoistan very quickly? Kendall, why is it Baradoistan?
Baradois is the Welsh word for paradise, and then Dawn is the Welsh god of light, wind, and water, and then the god of wind and water, and then she has the 5 children of light, and those are 3 of our main natural resources we have in our city, so it's like very fitting for our name.
There was a meaning behind our name. Thank you for having us here tonight. I just want to tell you I have the best job in Westerville, so thank you for letting me do what I do. I would like to present to you a great group of 8th grade students, all of whom I really want to fail and keep here next year, because I'm going to be sad to see them go on. So the 2016 Genoa Future City team, Matt Bowler, Robert Boyd couldn't be here tonight, but Robert Boyd, let's give him a hand. Jeremy Gellner. Sarah Gellner. Madeline McConnell, who could not be here tonight. Kendall Seaberry. Emily Smith. Zach Smith. Adrian Thompson. Justin Wade. And our fabulous engineer mentor, we can't thank you enough for sharing your expertise, Dino Torlone.
We would like the principal of this outstanding group to come up. Carrie, would you like to come up and offer a word? Sure, shake their hands too. Sure, yes. Awesome. No, go, absolutely.
You guys mind if I improvise a little bit? I was gonna ask if one of the students would mind describing to people exactly what the whole experience is, because it's, if you've never seen this experience and haven't experienced it, I got the fortune to do this with my son. It is quite the adventure, and I got the task of transporting the project from Columbus to DC in a minivan in a snowstorm, knowing what was at risk if I messed up, right? So I was never happy to see a hotel. So I might ask the students if they want to tell a little bit about their experience, because if you haven't seen it, it is pretty awesome stuff. And I know as a parent watching my son, I just saw him a little bit differently after that. Not more than just having a tie and well-shined shoes, but just what he said. So if you want to tell us a little bit about the whole thing.
Of course. So I think the Future City competition was really beneficial. It's such an important thing to understand, not only how to engineer, but also how to work together. So really the entire idea is just to work together to build a futuristic city to help solve problems that the world faces today. And so this year's theme was waste not, want not. So you're trying to find ways to help with waste disposal, because right now we're living in a world where we're using up our non-renewable resources. So we're trying to find ways as much as we can to convert to renewable energy sources. And that's really what our project revolved around, was just building a city on the principle that we're trying to fix as many things that we can.
So what we started with, we actually started last January, so it's been almost a year going on. So first what we did is, honestly, like just thinking about like the model and all that didn't seem like a lot, but it took a lot of research before that. So we spent almost, I would say 9 months just focusing on the research aspect of the Future City. You had to find all the aspects: education, food, recreation, transportation, waste management, housing, all that different kinds of things went into the project, along with the big part of the waste management. And then what we did is there were certain days where we had to have our essay turned in our SimCity. And Robert, who's not here, did a lot of our SimCity, and he was amazing about that. But we basically compiled all of our research into an essay, which was supposed to be 1,500 words, but when we first made it, it was 2,000 words. So we had to limit that a little bit, which was kind of difficult. But then from the essay, we made a presentation, which actually had to be 7 minutes long, which is a long time to talk about something that you just made. I mean, it was like a lot of words to memorize, I promise. It's never going to leave my brain ever, I don't think. And then what we had to do is the model, Sarah, our wonderful model maker, was amazing. And we kind of procrastinated a little bit on our model. And we did the whole thing in about a week, which is pretty amazing because it was a really cool model. It was really amazing. And then when we went to the competition, how it's set up is you go into a room by yourself, not by yourself, with like your team. And there are 3 presenters out of the 10 of us that were there. And we presented once to a group of judges and then again to another group of judges. And then we did special awards judging, which is when we won like the transportation, ceramics, and things like that, which is like in a big room, and special awards judges like came around to you. But then the cool part of Future City is you go to the awards ceremony, and what will happen is they'll call the top 5 teams, and you'll be sequestered, and you have to redo your presentation, but your scores are wiped clean. So even if you win in 5th place, you can do it even better and get 1st place. So I really like that about that.
I mean, really, Future City, even though at the beginning it just looks like, oh, science, so science people can do it. It's really not. It's about working together as a team. I mean, we had 10 amazing students on our team, along with an amazing teacher and engineer. There were so many people supporting us. And I mean, we came in with teams that were 3 people. We came in with teams who had 40 people. But I don't think that we could have asked for a better team. The 10 of us really worked really well together. And I mean, even though, we got 1st in the state, that was more than we could have asked for. But 10th in overall national, it was absolutely amazing.
So the actual model you made, describe to them the magnitude of this thing. It's not a little thing like this.
Oh, it's like about this big.
Like this long.
It's about a 3x4 sheet of plywood, is it not?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and 2 levels too.
It holds most of the
Those
backseat of a
stuff.
minivan, I can tell you that.
My mom actually was the one who drove it down with my grandma, and they had quite a trip going down there.
Yeah.
And you mentioned some of the features, transportation center. Describe maybe one or two of the design features and technologies you integrated into your model.
So actually, on your model, you had to have at least one moving part. We ended up having 3, but our one moving part was one of our main moving parts was our waste management system, which was
An interesting one to pick.
yeah, yeah. So. But we actually used some of the STEM engineering design products. Those what are they called? The robotics, the VEX robotic stuff. And we were able to actually program it, and it was like a conveyor belt type thing. And you can give an outline of what our waste management was.
Yeah, so, I mean, really,
You go do that.
our waste management system, the entire idea was that instead of just throwing things in the trash and recycling things when you felt like it, basically everything would be put into one chute, and that would be separated. It would be scanned and separated into non-recyclables and recyclables. And we actually use plasma gasification technology for non-recyclables to convert it into energy. And our recyclables were re-separated and then used as either supports or reused into new products.
Plasma gasification is actually when electrical energy is converted into thermal energy, and then it breaks apart the chemical bonds of the items, and it turns them into syngas or like a solid material called like slag. It's not that big word. I didn't know if you guys knew what that. Yeah, it's a really big word. I didn't know what it meant, so I looked it up.
We're not staying another year. You guys ready?
Just real quickly, as the board has a seat, it struck me, yes, tremendous principal and teacher and engineer and parents and grandmothers. I want you to think about all the teachers that you've had from kindergarten, elementary, that all the teachers in this system that have built into you, and you have been able to express this. So I think a big round of applause to the staff and all those who have been behind the scenes for years, bringing these students to this place, I think is in order. So thanks.
I was just going to mention, I'm assuming that our high school principals are here this evening because they're going to be recruiting from this pool right here.
Oh, you can stay. You can stay.
I'm assuming as well we have a photographer out to take pictures, so if the family and friends want to step outside, or if you want to stay for the remainder of the board meeting, whatever works for you. Just checking. Okay. That's an idea. All right, we'll move into our next agenda topic in just a moment. So our next agenda topic will be the approval of minutes for the Board of Education regular meeting held on February the 22nd of 2016. As a reminder for our attendees and our audience, we do not vote on the minutes, but we do ask if there are questions, concerns, omissions, or additions. Any? No. That being said, the minutes are approved, and we move to reports. Our first report this evening will be Superintendent's report on High School Leader Hire Initiative.
I'm going to invite Scott Reeves to the podium to do this presentation, Executive Director of Secondary Schools. And I know he has his principals here with him, too, who may have some comments. So I'll turn over to Scott.
Thank you, President Byrd, members of the board. And recruiting is a bad word with those three, so we don't broach that topic with them. As Dr. Kellogg mentioned, we received a grant from the Equal Opportunity Schools for the Lead Hire Initiative. The Equal Opportunity Schools is a national nonprofit organization that works with the White House, the U.S. Department of Ed, the College Board, and the International Baccalaureate Program, and also work closely with the Education Trust and others to study IB, and AP participation in the high schools in the United States. The specific grant that we were able to receive is, in a nutshell, an opportunity for gap closure in the enrollment of our IB and AP courses. So the premise being the enrollment in our IB and AP courses should mirror and reflect similarly the enrollment of our various student populations in our high schools as a whole. So what we were able to do is submit our data of the students that were in our AP courses and our IB courses, as well as our total student enrollment population, and that gave us where our gaps, where we weren't representing, where we were underrepresented in various student groups. They call those, quote unquote, missing students, and those are our opportunities with which to have more students accessed into those coursework. They estimate 500,000 students nationally are missing students that could be taking IB and AP coursework. For our district specifically, it was 293 based on this enrollment. So there's an opportunity potentially for 293 students who could be in AP or IB coursework that represent low socioeconomic or students of color that aren't. And we were very, very attracted to this grant because it aligned with strategies that we have been doing in this district for a couple of years. Our buildings have been working with our curriculum department, our Department of Minority Student Achievement, our College and Career Readiness Department to identify students to encourage overall growth in IB and AP coursework, as well as our College and Career Readiness coursework, and work specifically with our underrepresented student population. So we actually have a conference call with Equal Opportunity Schools tomorrow to get the specifics on the support and the funding and the way that the money will be granted. And so the principals are here, and they can kind of speak on perhaps some of the questions that you have or some of the strategies that they may have been doing to this point in support with district departments to get more students involved in this rigorous coursework.
Yeah, I'd like to hear about the strategies.
Okay. Any of you care to share?
Thank you, Mr. Reeves. For those that you may not know, I'm Todd Spinner. I'm the principal at Westerville Central High School. Dr. Kellogg, Board of Education. Traditionally, we've worked one-on-one with our counseling team to look at students in all student groups that aren't currently in AP courses but are in regular or honors courses that could be very, very successful in those upper level courses. And we look at AP potential scores. We talk to parents of those students. We have one-on-one conversations with students and encourage them to challenge themselves. So at Central High School, and I know at North and South, we're having those one-on-one conversations with those students that have that potential to be in those upper level classes. And when we go through our scheduling, our counselors also have those conversations with those students that may not be signed up for an AP class that 100% show potential to be in those classes. So that one-on-one relationship is key.
One of the unique pieces of this program that I was attracted to is they have a set of metrics that they use with students that include things like course enrollment patterns, GPA, and then some measurements of students' perceptions of themselves and their willingness to engage in, and students' perceptions of support for, and they're thinking about, has anybody ever talked to you about that? And so that's a set of data that will get those tools will be available to us through their consultants to deliver. And from that, they actually deliver to you individual, like playing cards of your students. And from that collaboration of data, you start to recognize students who may not traditionally be seen as AP or IB, but have some of those other pieces like perseverance, desire, and willingness to engage in that kind of coursework. And a lot of it is about just no one has purposely thought it out. And then you work with their consultants to build strategies. And so we have a lot of the strategies in place, and thinking about those strategies, that tool set of data metrics, I think, is an important piece. And then broadening that awareness across the system is going to be really, really powerful for us in a very strategic way. And I've forgotten the numbers, Scott. How many schools nationwide? It was about 276 nationwide?
Yes.
So we see it as a pretty unique opportunity. And they'll assign a consultant to each of the high schools to work with them specifically on the tool sets they have, strategies that have been developed from, this is second round for them, strategies other school districts have used across the nation to address this, who have bought their numbers up. And we can replicate that in our system. But I think we saw just a convergence of opportunity for us with where we want to be, and then this program coming in place to move it forward. I didn't mean to jump in, Scott.
No,
but I had that.
that's fine. And what you're referring to is they create what they call a student insight for all of the various students that takes into account their test scores, their standardized test scores as compared to AP or IB students. And I think what they do is identify students that could be successful and helping break down barriers that students have, whether they're mental barriers, confidence barriers, to say you can do this. And what they try to do is remove those barriers for those students so that they do feel comfortable into getting into those courses.
So once the grant ends, then what? What will we have remaining that we will carry on? We'll be able to maintain the system, continue to develop the same use of the data once we have it in play and in-house?
If you look at the information that they've provided with us, a part of their strategies are professional development for the building so that they can continue with those strategies once their consultancy ends.
There is opportunity to continue your relationship in terms of the data tools as well. It's a less cost because you don't have personnel assigned to it, but you still have access to those tools if that's what you want.
Does it vary by high school, or are you guys using the same approaches in each high school? Are you switching it up? How would you describe the different high schools?
Yeah, in addition to what Todd Spinner said at Central, it was actually one of South's building goals this year to increase the enrollment in honors, AP, and IB courses, and this grant came along just at the right time. We're very excited about it. In addition to that AP potential list, we have gotten the number of gifted students. I have a list of all the gifted students in South. And last year, we started putting those lists into the hands of classroom teachers themselves. So we're trying to broaden, the grassroots effort, really, to get that information out to students to encourage them to sign up for those classes. We devoted one of our early dismissal, early release sessions to formulating ideas what classroom teachers could do. Bill Heinmiller met with Mike Hinsey and a lot of our AP and IB teachers as we approach the scheduling season, just to be able to reach out to those kids in the classroom.
Thank you. I'm Kurt Yancey, the principal at Westerville North. In addition to all the things that these guys have done, one of the events that we hold in our building is called AP Night, where we invite all of our students in the building who have the potential for being successful in AP classes, and those who are just interested in the program that want to push themselves to come to an evening where our one of our assistant principals and our the person that handles all of our AP registration and everything in the building, some guidance counselors and so forth, to just inform and make sure our parents are educated about what the opportunities are. I also think it's very important that as principals we make decisions about the personnel that we have in the classrooms for these courses, for our honors courses, for our AP courses, so that they have, because we have teachers that have wonderful relationships with students all throughout our building that can have a tremendous impact on recruiting these students into these programs. I can give you an example of Mr. Bracken. Mr. Bracken has 110 students in AP chemistry right now, and it's very representative of our population. And so that's an example of the connections that he's made through our honors chemistry program and Mrs. Waits, and that building that program from the 10th grade up, I think, is extremely important. So those are the couple of the additional strategies that we put in place in addition to the AP potential report from the College Board. I personally have found some students who were predicted to have potential to be successful in over 8 AP classes that were scheduled in none. And those are the things that we're addressing, as Mr. Spinner, Mr. Anderson said, through our counseling office to try and make sure that those students are successful and enrolled in those courses. So some additional strategies.
Thank you. We've been doing a lot of things for quite a long period of time, and we've had some successes, but one of the reasons I'm really excited about this is because it brings resources to bear that we otherwise couldn't bring to bear within the district and lets us leap forward substantially faster than we would otherwise. So it's great to see the explicit strategies, the explicit approaches, and the clear use of metrics that are tied very strongly to the research, as I understand it. So I'm really excited about it, and I hope you'll come back and tell us about numbers and results and retentions and all of that.
We're excited as well.
Thank you.
For our next report this evening, we have the FY 2015 Audit Report given by Mr. Michael Howard, member of the Audit Committee. Mr. Howard, if you would take the podium. And Mr. Howard, before you even start, I just want to let you know my personal thanks for you taking on this responsibility for the district, as well as the other volunteers of the Audit Committee. It's greatly appreciated.
I'm sure you're welcome on behalf of me and the rest of the committee. And I will tell you that future cities is probably more exciting. My name is Mike Howard. I'm a CPA. I've been a resident of this district since 1977. I've paid over $100,000 in taxes to this school district. As a matter of fact, my taxes now are more than my first house's payment. I'll be glad to tell you what the results are, because I can tell you that you have been spending our money legally and wisely. We met December 7th, our committee, with the Auditor of State representatives. They do the audit, and various district officials. There's a 171-page financial statement and accompanying reports, if you're so interested in reading it. On behalf of the people that are recycling and talking about that, you can get it online without getting it printed out. When it comes to an audit report, no news definitely is good news. And in the case of your audit report, everything came out clean. There's 6 sections of it. There's a financial section, which indicates that your financial statements have been presented fairly in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. If you happen to read the report and are alarmed at the giant deficit, I am here to tell you that the deficit is artificial. It's a matter of pension changes being imposed by the Governmental Accounting Standards Board. And to tell you to get prepared for even more deficits, because they're going to impose reporting other post-employment benefits, which is basically health care that's coming from the systems.
And just so the board knows, what he's talking about is we had to account for the STRS and SCRS benefits that we now have to show as our obligation, even though it's not. But that's now, when he's talking about a deficit, that's what he's talking about. We had to report those as though they were ours.
I wondered what you've been hiding from us.
No.
I've argued with the GASB for years, and a lot of other people in Ohio have, because we have stable pension systems in the state of Ohio. You can't say that nationwide. Illinois, for example, is functionally bankrupt, and that's the reason they imposed it. As long as you're paying what you're supposed to pay, you don't end up in any problem whatsoever. And in fact, this district has aside from that, has a good working surplus. So I just wanted to tell people that from an independent point of view. The auditors also look at your compliance with legal requirements. That's federal, state, and any of your own board resolutions and such. They look at your internal controls. They look at federal programs, federal legal compliance, and federal controls over that. There was no findings whatsoever, which is good. As far as prior audit findings from the 2014 audit, there were 2 findings for recovery, one of which has been repaid, one of which has not been repaid, but it isn't out of your hands anyway. It's in the hands of the Attorney General of the state of Ohio. With that, do you have any questions? Comments?
I'll make one comment. After the audit report, we are going to receive the audit award with distinction again. It's the 4th year. They're coming April 5th to present that to us. So we'll have a 4th year in a row, which is pretty awesome. So
It is indeed.
this is Mr. Howard, what, 2nd year you've been on this? You got one more to
Yes.
go? So he'll be back next year as long as he's willing to come back. And we try to renew those every 3 years. So you can be on it for 3 years and then we reappoint. So this is Mr. Howard's 2nd, so he has one more. But this is kind of, we've tried to do this every year. We typically try to do these in February, but it kind of slipped my mind this year, and Mr. Howard reminded me, he said, hey, when are you going to do this audit report? So that's why we're doing it in March. It's typically done in February. So anyway, I appreciate you coming in,
The
Sharon.
committee is completely independent of the school district, and it consists of several community members who, like me, have some expertise in the area. So
It's a good group. Good group.
Excellent. Well, Mr. Howard, thank you very much. I will say, given my corporate profession, I wish that my auditors had half your sense of humor. I'm telling you right now. But thank you again very much for your service to the board and to the community, most importantly.
we'll see you next year.
Excellent.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
And next, we'll move to report item 5.03, IB program report, student experience, and please come to the podium. Thank you. Mr. Reeves, I believe you're going to introduce.
I got to give you a green light. All right. Thank you. Kind of in the same line that we were discussing earlier, we were very, very fortunate this year to be able to hire Mr. Bill Heinmiller as the IB coordinator housed at Westerville South High School, and it has been a tremendous pickup for us. Mr. Heinmiller is an enormous asset to our district. He's been a IB teacher from the beginning of the program, and so has a thorough understanding of it. And we thought it would be a great time for Mr. Heinmiller to come and share his goals and vision and the importance of IB for him. And then we also have student Gabriella Fuentes, who is an IB student, who can share how it has impacted her academic career. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Heinmiller. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Byrd, members of the board, Dr. Kellogg, Mr. Griffith. I appreciate the opportunity to be here with you tonight to discuss the International Baccalaureate program at Westerville South High School. After teaching in the program since its inception, I took on the responsibility as coordinator for the 2015-2016 academic year. In this position, I've had the good fortune of seeing the big picture now of how this program enhances the experiences and opportunities for our students on a daily basis. As you may be aware, our IB program provides opportunities for students to participate in a world-class curriculum which links them to students and educators throughout the world. Just this morning, I packaged and sent away our extended essays, which are a requirement for our IB diploma candidates. These essays were sent to countries and educators all over the world, including Australia, Belgium, China, India, the Netherlands, Saudi Arabia, Sweden, and the United Kingdom. What a great opportunity for our students to showcase their best work with educators across the globe. Additionally, our students have numerous opportunities to make a big difference right here in our community. Through the Creativity, Activity, and Service Requirement, which is referred to as CAS, our students have volunteered well over 1,500 hours in our community and right here in our schools. For example, I recently received a note from one of our elementary teachers commending the work of our peer tutors in one of our Westerville elementary schools. She praised our students for their efforts in helping Westerville's 4th and 5th graders in their mathematics success, but also pointed out how great it was to hear our students talk about what this experience has meant to them as they discuss things informally. In her words, our high school students light up and feel good when sharing the success of the younger students in the program. What a great opportunity. Academically, our program continues to provide unparalleled preparation for our students' higher education. Our graduates are prepared for the challenges of even the most demanding university programs. They have earned placement credit for their IB courses, and more importantly, they report that the skills and habits they develop in the IB program allow them to make a seamless transition into their college coursework. In addition to our IB diploma candidates, we have many students who are benefiting from individual courses in the program, with over 20% of our current juniors and seniors currently enrolled in at least one or more IB courses. Current scheduling data suggests that next year's juniors will take these totals even higher. And we had a record-setting attendance at our middle school information night in January. And on a side note, I didn't prepare, but I think as a follow-up to agenda item 5.01, I want to talk about the opportunity that I've had to meet face-to-face with students as they discern taking this dive into the program. You know, many of our students who I think by the grant that we were awarded are considered the absent students. I've sat and encouraged these students not to be absent from this program. And I want to share a conversation I had with one young man about a month ago. As I met, fortunately, by creating this position, it's given me time to sit and talk with students and listen to them and what they are looking for. I met with him one morning. He wasn't scheduled, did not even know he was interested, but he meandered into my office, said, I want to talk to you about this IB program. What can you tell me about it? He didn't know too much about it. He was also thinking about AP courses and just knew that he wanted to kick it up to the next level. So I met with him one morning and I saw his wheels turning, but he wasn't just quite ready to commit. And I said, well, why don't you come back tomorrow if you have a chance? He had a study hall that period. So he came back in. He said, you know, I went home and I talked about this and I think I'm ready to take it. I'm ready to take a dive. And we finished our conversation, you know, and I encouraged him and I told him, you know, I think you are too. I looked at his record and, you know, they do not have to be the highest test scores to be able to succeed in our program. They have to have a will to succeed and a desire to work hard in our program. When I finished the conversation, we both got up and I went to shake his hand, and this young man came. He wasn't ready. He didn't want to shake my hand. He came in for a hug. And I went home and I told my wife that night, I said, I'm right where I need to be. I said, that made my day. And it wasn't me that did this, but it was this opportunity. And this is the kind of opportunity that our program is giving. Our teachers are very dedicated. We're really proud of the work we do with our IB students. We appreciate the resources made available to attend high-quality IB professional development sessions where we can become familiar with the curriculum and assessment practices within the program. These experiences also allow us to interact with educators from diverse settings around the U.S. and around the world, another way that we can enhance the cultural experiences of our students. Finally, I'd like to recognize a really important group who has supported our IB program for several years. The Westerville City Schools IB Boosters continue to support our program in countless ways. I've met regularly with this group since I began my role as coordinator in August, and their support is a very big reason why our program continues to grow and prosper. In my opinion, it's clear that the International Baccalaureate program is alive and well in Westerville. I see this clearly every day when I have the opportunity to talk with our students, see samples of their high-quality work they're completing, and when I hear them discussing complex and sensitive issues with maturity. When it comes right down to it, this program is about building confident, informed students who are ready to contribute to society locally, nationally, and globally. Our students embrace this challenge, and I could not be any more proud to coordinate this program on behalf of the Westerville City School District. And now I want to introduce Gabriella Fuentes, a senior diploma program candidate from Westerville South High School, who will speak about her experience in the IB program.
All right. Good evening, everyone. I guess I'd like to start off by saying IB was one of the most challenging and frustrating, yet rewarding and invigorating programs and courses that I've ever taken. As like how Mr. Heimler was describing, the sophomore who wasn't sure if he wanted to take the dive into IB or not, that was me my sophomore year. I didn't know if I wanted to go through all the struggles, the late nights, and all that. But I guess what ultimately changed my mind was the fact that it's like a life experience to do it. Like, it's not offered anywhere. So taking it, it definitely shifted my entire being. It shifted my perspective from just like a narrow local perspective in the world to understanding that education and stuff like math, English, language arts goes beyond the classroom. It's more in a global perspective. And it taught me a lot about who I am as a person and how much I am willing to push and work towards my goals and my successes, as much as it taught me, like, academically, like the little skills that I hadn't perfected or hadn't been able to work on before, like just time management or writing lengthy essays, or just being able to work in tense settings with just like a big group of people. So I would be definitely changed kind of the course of where I wanted to be. And kind of going back to what Mr. Reeves was talking about in his speech about the whole minority gap, going into IB, and still to this, is definitely difficult because I am a Hispanic student, I'm Mexican American, so when you don't see somebody who kind of like you can relate to go through something and be successful at the end of like the tunnel, it's difficult to take that launch. But being like going through it and still going through it right now, and it's given me a lot of confidence in who I am and my capabilities and what I can achieve in the future. So kind of to give you a perspective, like to this day, I believe like I am the only Hispanic taking advantage of this full IB program in all of Westerville City schools, which to me is crazy because like in my other Hispanic friends in younger grades, like I know their potential, like I know they can persevere, and sometimes not seeing that in like future people or like people who haven't gone through it, it kind of deteriorates your spirit a little bit. But I know firsthand that taking part of this program is such a life-changing experience. Like going into sophomore year, I didn't think like I could obtain the goals and futures that I have now. Like I got accepted into Georgetown, and I want to say it's because of the confidence I got because of IB, because of the teachers who taught me, because of the things I learned, because of the way my peers motivated me and competed with me and just made me like an overall better person. So I guess to kind of tie it back and to my experience, this was one of like the most eye-opening and life-changing experiences. I don't think without IB, that'd be the person I am today. I wouldn't be the ambitious, hardworking person. And I definitely kind of would recommend it for a lot of students. And I'm very glad to see that there's a lot of like initiative taking to kind of close that gap in kind of more diverse minority students, because it's something that like I wish I would have had freshman or sophomore year, or just I wish my friends who are in those grades now like could take part of. So yeah, I guess the overall IB experience, it's definitely rewarding. I would say it's definitely, I've learned a lot, but I've also challenged myself a lot. So I also want to really thank Mr. Heinmiller for just like the experience he's been giving us as IB students, like the comfort, the security, as well as challenging and pushing us. So yeah, thank you, Mr. Heinmiller. All right.
I actually just thought you were very excited about IB as well.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Thank you so much for giving us that program report, as well as your personal experience. I would ask, are there any questions, comments from the board before we proceed?
Just really a quick affirmation. Mr. Heimiller, you were speaking up there, and you were speaking about it so passionately, and obviously your gratitude to him was authentic as well. we're just very proud of this program and very proud of what you are representing. And I know it wasn't, Gabriella, I know it wasn't part of your planned remarks, but thank you for saying that you are excited about the closing of the gap and extending the diversity through the program, because that will just make the program stronger. I mean, we all know it's a high academic deal. We all get that, right? But it's also, from my understanding, it's also a broadening and a deepening of the person. And you just need to listen to discourse in society today to recognize that we need to be broadened and deepened and much more aware of the other person. And it sounds like through some intense academic stuff. Let's not diminish that, but it is more than that. And if we can use this program to broaden and deepen the opportunities from IB and AP through all our schools, job well done. Thank you for sharing and being here tonight. And Mr. Heimiller, I was ready to sign up. I just, and I'm one of those, you really don't want me in IB, but thank you.
I don't have any questions, and I can't speak as eloquently as you just did. It was great. Thank you. Ditto to all that you said. I want to say a special thank you to the IB team, the entire IB team that's housed at South, and Bill, that you lead, for their diligence and the efforts that have been made to protect and grow the program over years. I was so glad when I heard that you were going to be the IB coordinator, Bill, because I knew that you would be exactly the right fit. I also want to thank Dr. Kellogg, because from the time you walked in the doors here, you understood the importance of this program, and you understood the need to build the program more fully within the district. I thank you for your support of the program and for your belief in what it means to all of the students, not just the students who are within the program itself. So thank you for that.
The only thing that I would say as we close out is I've emphasized this point a number of times over close to the last 2 years. My own horizons were expanded not by having an IB program, very small high school. Those weren't options that were available. But closing in on 20 years ago now, when I began to travel extensively globally for both business and just to travel, I would emphasize that the IB program is a distinct career, academic, vocational, community advantage for every single student that not only participates in the program, but takes those IB-related courses as well. It's one thing to go through academic studies within the context of the textbook and the curriculum. It's completely another to be learning in an atmosphere that recognizes the true global nature and interconnectedness of the world. And that's how I see the value of the IB program. I'd also emphasize, along with the program staff, we cannot thank in this community our IB boosters enough for their continuous support of this program and championing of this program. I'm looking forward to, Dr. Kell and I have talked about this multiple times, I'm just looking forward to really finding channels and opportunities to increase the numbers of full program participants in the IB program. I feel that passionately about the value that it generates, not just for the individuals, but for our community as well. So thank you again, very much appreciated.
Point of clarification, Gabriella, you said Georgetown? Georgetown, Kentucky, or Georgetown, D.C.? You're going to change the world. That's awesome. That's awesome. Ahoya. Yeah. We don't know what Ahoya is, but it's a good place to be. You'll like Georgetown.
Apparently you get that secret when you start at Georgetown. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much again, and we'll move off to agenda item 6.01, public comments related to action items. We have no one signed up this evening for those public comments. Move to financial 7.01, no financial reports this evening. Move directly to the personnel consent agenda 8.01 through 8.07. If I could call for a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
And Bart, if you could call the roll, please. Oh, after. I always do that. I get so excited.
Yay.
Lori, if you can,
Hey, Lori.
if you can take us through it, please.
Yes. Good evening, Mr. Byrd, members of the board. Tonight's consent agenda contains 7 sections involving 76 persons. Section 8.01 is the resignation of 1 classified staff member. 8.02 is contractual status change of 4 classified staff members. 8.03 is a change of 1 temporary change of assignment, for a classified staff member. 8.04 is leave of absence for 3 teachers. 8.05 is various one-time payments for licensed staff, including 2 items that are amended from previous agendas that were approved. 8.06 is the employment of 3 classified staff members. And 8.07 is the employment of 1 teacher, 1 home instruction tutor, and it also includes various supplemental contracts. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
I don't believe we have any this evening, so thank you very much, much appreciated. And Bart, now, if we could call the roll.
Mr. Velardo,
Yes.
Ms. Cotter,
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson,
Yes.
Dr. Nestor Baker,
Yes.
Mr. Byrd.
Yes. Moving on to our next agenda item, policy consent. First policy consent will be for 9.01. Policy number 8500, food services. This policy relates to the requirement to provide cafeteria facilities and school facilities. That being said, can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any further questions, issues? If not, if you could call the roll, please.
Ms. Cotter,
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson,
Yes.
Dr. Nestor Baker,
Yes.
Mr. Velardo,
Yes.
Mr. Byrd.
Yes. Our next final reading is 9.02, policy 8540. This policy relates to vending machines and the production of revenues from those machines to augment programs and services. Before I call for a motion, any questions, issues? Hearing none, if I could call for a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Bart, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Velardo,
Yes.
Ms. Cotter,
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson,
Yes.
Dr. Nestor Baker,
Yes.
Mr. Byrd.
Yes. And our final policy consent item for this evening is 9.03, final reading of policy 8550, competitive food sales, is the topic of this particular policy. Any questions or issues? If not, may I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Bart, if I could call the roll, please?
Mr. Velardo,
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson,
Yes.
Ms. Cotter,
Yes.
Dr. Nestor Baker,
Yes.
Mr. Byrd.
Yes. Moving on to agenda item 10.01, recommended action for old business. We have none this evening. And we move into recommended action for new business items. Agenda item 11.01 will be a first reading of policy 2461, recording of IEP team meetings.
Good evening, President Byrd, Dr. Kellogg, and members of the board. I am here tonight to recommend that the board approve an update to Board Policy 2461, recording of IEP team meetings. The update is being recommended so that the procedures for audio taping of meetings and the prohibition against videotaping of meetings apply not only to IEP team meetings, but to 504 meetings and other district meetings involving students and/or parents as well. The update is also being recommended to define the notice provision for the audio taping of meetings require 48 hours notice and to prohibit the use of covert means to make an audio or video recording of any meeting or activity at school. Based on the above, I am recommending that the board approve the updated version of Board Policy 2461 as proposed. Do you have any questions? Thank you.
I do actually, just real quick, I apologize. Sorry.
That's all right.
I was, I'm just kind of curious, as I look at the revision dates and had read this earlier, it's been 5 years since we've revisited this policy. And I'm curious, as we're looking at it now, what was our guidance for some of the direction and the language that was in this policy?
The guidance is just that we have a lot of parents that are using covert means, doing meetings and doing anything that we have in the district and other districts. So with that, we just wanted to make sure that, the policy is updated to make sure that it's prohibited.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Just a reminder to our attendees in the audience as well that we do not take votes on first readings, so we will not be calling for motions or votes on those topics, but we will move to 11.02, a first reading for policy 1630.01, FMLA leave.
Good evening again, President Byrd, members of the board. If it's okay with you, I'll present these three companion items together, these policies. We have the three policies for the Family and Medical Leave Act, or FMLA. We have one for administration, one for professional staff, and one for classified staff, and the changes all are aligned to revise and incorporate the U.S. Department of Labor's final regulations with clarification for leave for pregnancy or the birth of a child, and also the new regulations regarding same-sex marriage. This time, I would recommend that we adopt these three policy revisions.
Any questions from the board?
Just want to say that this is a federal change that I'm in favor of.
I was wondering where that was going. I was just waiting. Excellent. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate the report. All right, we'll move on to agenda item 12, recommended action for standing business. 12.01 this evening will be a motion to approve the donations as presented. If I could have a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
And if I could ask if there are any questions, issues, topics of interest related to donations.
Just so very grateful. I guess I should turn this on. Just so very grateful for all the donations.
We always are, and I'd like to call one particular out. You'll see under Westerville North, I'm going to get in trouble for this, just so you know how I'm couching it. Westerville North High School, the boosters, the football boosters, has bought a five-man football sled. I played football in high school. Those are machines of torture, and I'm not sure. Just kidding. Those are hard to move, and we are grateful for all of these donations, absolutely.
Which side of the sled were you on?
I was,
I assumed he was a place kid.
One side could be more torturous than the other.
I was a quarterback, so I didn't have to do the sled, actually, so. What?
Bart said when you're little, they are hard to move. He was like hitting me over here, Tracy, I can't believe it. Those are so easy. No, I'm joking.
That's all I have to say for tonight. Thank you.
Cross-country practice, we didn't worry about those things.
I would agree. Thank you again to the community in every aspect of donation and giving. Important to point out, you wouldn't have the football team without the band, and Westerville South is there bringing in donations for a trailer, for the instrumental music trailer. So again, much appreciated, community. If I could ask for the roll, please.
Dr. Nestor Baker?
Yes.
Ms. Cotter?
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo?
Yes.
Mr. Byrd?
Yes. 12.02, next is 2016-2017 student fee schedule. Need a motion to approve the 2016 schedule as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Dr. Kellogg, any additional conversations about this topic?
Just a couple of things you may want to be aware of. We have included the annual income guidelines for all-day kindergarten as part of the fee structure. And the other piece I'd point out is, I think this is the second year that we've had these approved in March as an effort to align the approval of course fees as parents and students start making arrangements on their schedule for next year. So once this is approved, we'll have it up on the website so parents and students can make informed decisions that if there's courses that they're enrolling in that may have additional fees, then they can see what that is. So we'd like to get that done out of the way in the winter. So unless there are any questions, I don't think there are any other significant changes other than the addition of the all-day kindergarten pay scale and a couple tweaks in words around a couple of the courses, but no significant changes in terms of the fees.
Excellent. If there are no other additional questions, if I could ask for the roll, please.
Mr. Velardo?
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson?
Yes.
Ms. Cotter?
Yes.
Dr. Nestor Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Byrd?
Yes. Moving to agenda topic 12.03, overnight and out-of-state field trips. If I can ask for a motion to approve 3 overnight and/or out-of-state field trips, please.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? If not, can we have or call for the roll, please?
Ms. Cotter?
Yes.
Dr. Nestor Baker?
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo?
Yes.
Mr. Byrd?
Yes. Moving to agenda topic 12.04, motion to approve the proposed district professional development days as presented. If I could have a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, issues, discussion?
Jen Knapp's here, I think, to present the calendar if there's questions. And I inappropriately forgot to mention that Jen was also the one who did all the work on the student fees schedule, so I want to thank her for that in case there were questions there. So unless there's questions, that's our calendar for next year.
Hearing none, if I could ask for the roll, please.
Dr. Nestor Baker?
Yes.
Ms. Cotter?
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo?
Yes.
Mr. Byrd?
Yes. For next agenda item 12.05, we're seeking a motion to approve a resolution for summer 2016 FY17 capital improvements construction projects, bid packages 1 through 5. I believe Mr. LaRose is here to present. If I could ask for a motion, please.
So moved. You can do it. I'll take the second.
Jeff?
Thank you. We received 22 bids for bid packages 1 through 5. Bid package 1 is to retrofit air handler AC number 2 at North High School. The lowest bidder was Regal Plumbing and Heating in the amount of $440,027. Bid package 2 is to construct an ADA restroom at Wilder. 2K General was the low bidder at $33,000. Bid package 3 is electrical panel replacements at Amherst, Charrington, and Blendon. There are a total of 30, and Garber Electric was the lowest responsive bidder at $61,600. You may note that Area Energy and Electric was the apparent low, but they ended up withdrawing their bid because it was significantly low. Bid package 4 is Homeside Stadium bleacher renovations at South. It includes replacing the footboards and adding intermediate steps and handrails along the aisles. We had actually done the visitor side in 2007, so this is a renovation of the home side. E&D specialty stands, low bidder, $117,700. And bid package 5 is a track storage facility at Central High School. Rizad Inc. was the low bidder at $83,803. So the total of the bids, just over $735,000, coming in around 25% under our budgeted amount. So we are recommending that the board accept the bids as presented.
Any questions about the bid packages presented? Jeff, I do have one. As it relates to the HVAC work at North, how close does that get our HVAC systems to modern currency, and what's the expected life expectancy of what we're placing there with this job?
These are component replacements. That's a huge air handler, and we looked at a total replacement. It just fitting in the total 5-year plan It was more cost affordable to do component replacement. There are two large ones at North, each serving about half of the building. Again, with the Point View project, with the way we're having to fund that, we're doing this air handler this year, and we're looking to do the other air handler for about the same price next year. But life expectancy on the components, 20 years expected. We typically get a lot more. For example, the electric panels, they have a life expectancy of 35, and most of those are approaching 50 years.
Great. I always get geeky about this subject, so, because it's my job on the board.
Sure.
I will say that I'm very, very pleased to see that we've finally found the opportunity to squeeze the track storage in at Central. That's been a hot topic for a long time, and I know that we're going to get better longevity out of our track and field equipment by getting it under cover. So thank you for finding a way to make that one happen as well. Hearing no additional questions or issues, I will call for the roll, please.
Ms. Cotter?
Yes.
Dr. Nestor Baker?
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo?
Yes.
Mr. Byrd?
Yes. Our next agenda topic will be public comment 13.01. This will be a reminder that you will have 5 minutes to address the board in the public comment section of the agenda. Please remember to address the agenda item that you are referencing. I apologize, that's not the case. No agenda item needs to be referenced in these comments. And a timer will be shown on the screens. Mr. Hershiser will call time when 5 minutes has elapsed. Please address your comments to the board and not to the audience. And this evening, we do have one individual seeking to speak, and that would be Mr. Jack Brown.
Thank you, Dr. Kellogg and members of the board, for the opportunity to invite you to Starry Night 2016. It's hosted by Westerville Partners for Education at Westerville North on April 10th. You're soon to receive your own official copies of the poster. But what Starry Night is a art and science family learning festival now in its 4th year. We anticipate over 1,500 students and their families to attend this year at North. And it could not happen without the support and cooperation, first of Westerville Schools, secondly, Nationwide Children's Hospital, who is both a sponsor and a big contributor of activities, interactive activities for the students, and many local businesses, organizations such as Otterbein, OSU, community organizations, and individual volunteers, both from middle schools, high school, and adult volunteers throughout the community. Probably the best way to tell you this in less than the remaining 3 minutes is to give you just a highlight of a few of the activities that the the K-8 students will engage in. First, find sunspots on our sun and learn how to detect alien planets around other stars. Second, see how an EMT unit assesses patients after you've been made up with disaster makeup to make you look and feel like a injured or ill victim. 3, detect bats by their ultrasonic calls. 4, have a middle school student teach you how to weave on a loom, and then have a disabled artist show you how to throw clay on a potter's wheel. 5, fill a cavity in a tooth with real dental tools, no sharps. 6, see how performing arts medicine is practiced at Nationwide Children's Hospital on dance-related injuries, and see the dancers demonstrate how they get hurt. 7, paint with invisible infrared light. Some of you may be interested in that as well. 8, build insects out of wire that float on water, or not. It's a learning experience. And in closing, there'll be 50 other interactive activities and showcase opportunities for student projects that have gone on throughout the year. And lastly, we will be we are still recruiting high school students to run some prepackaged exhibits or their own exhibit ideas that they've come up with to help mentor the younger students that you've heard so much about this evening. If there are any questions?
Where can they sign their high school students up at?
Westerville Partners for Education website or Facebook page, and you can get back and forth from them, and they can sign up as an exhibitor, in which case we'll call them, or on Facebook they can sign up as either a showcase person to show off a project they have, or as an exhibitor. And we'll contact them with the details and any support that they may need. Other questions? Thank you very much.
I just want to thank Westerville Partners in Education for the event, and Jack in particular, because I've been poorly attending the meetings, but I can tell you that the work they're doing to put this event on, you heard the number of vendors, the number of kids, and there's this wonderful, mighty group of community members who are very committed to this and engaging the community and touching base with the school, and an unbelievable number of hours to put this together. So thank you. I know that that's going on, and I thank you and the rest of the team for that work, because this is a great opportunity for our students. We see what we can start growing from our middle school students in Future City to our students who are going through IB. And these are the kind of partnerships that create more opportunities for kids and help kids discover what their true ambitions are and where they might want to be in the future, and develop their aspirations. And see community members like yourself and that team help build that, and we appreciate that.
You're welcome, and it's a whole lot of fun, or we probably wouldn't be doing it. Okay.
Thank you.
Excellent, Jack. Thank you very much for your comments. Much appreciated. With that said, we'll move off to agenda item 14.01, which will be board comments this evening. Who would like to speak or start?
I'll go first, and I'll be really, really quick. Summer Camp Expo is this Wednesday at North High School from 5:30 to 7:30. It is a fantastic event. If you have young ones, please go check it out, so they will have something to do over the summer. Also, Magnet Fair open house is Wednesday night, so after the Summer Camp Expo, head over there. And I think that's at Heritage, so right next door. And then Friday, our A+ awards. If you would like to nominate a fabulous teacher, which we saw several here tonight, and principals, Debbie Pellington, we saw Bill Heinmiller. I mean, we have fabulous teachers out there, staff members. Please nominate these people. They deserve it. That's it.
Just when you were talking about Starry Night, we already have our posters, by the way. We got our posters. Here's my thought on Starry Night and the other activities that you saw highlighted tonight. When you spark the imagination in a child, you catalyze their desire to learn. And we have teachers and administrators all over this district doing that. And it was demonstrated not just through IB, but through AP, through what Westerville Partners does. And so I think this really, from me, from the board, I don't speak on behalf of the board, but I'm quite confident that they are as honored to be a part of this district and what we've just seen a little bit here tonight. And again, when the imagination is lit, learning follows very quickly. So thank you for all the work that you're doing.
Nope, I have nothing. Thank you.
Well, I'll close out this evening. First, the Summer Camp Fair is, it's such a resource to the community, and I almost missed it a number of years ago. And because I went, my youngest daughter discovered Camp Wilson, a YMCA camp in Bellefontaine, Ohio. And this year, after 6 years, she's actually becoming a counselor in training. It is a great resource to the community, and it opens up opportunities that many families may not be aware of. So I highly encourage attendance by families around the district. The other thing that I would mention this evening in closing is, I had a great question that was posed to me by a fellow board member, and that was, what were my goals for this board this year? And it's a difficult question to ask of a sitting board member, because we operate in a continuum. Our projects take a long time. Curriculums develop over months, if not longer. Test scores and assessments are on this annual cycle. And my focus from a goal standpoint was certainly more oriented towards facilities and operations and the passions that we have for the projects that we're building. But almost unexpectedly by consensus, and subconsciously, I think, the board and Dr. Kellogg, as well as the rest of the administration, we've kind of gravitated to what I think my board goal is for this year. And you saw some of it this evening, and I think you're going to see substantially more of it across the district over the next several months. And that is the opportunity to find new ways and new opportunities to recognize and appreciate our students. We've had lots of discussions in the first few weeks of this year around what are assets within the district that we're not leveraging to showcase student talent, what are programs that we can continue to try and highlight and then bring initiative-based focus on to close gaps and bring students into learning opportunities that they may not think they're qualified for or may never have been exposed to. And this level of student recognition, because ultimately this is what this board sits here for, this level of student recognition is certainly my focus for this year. And I believe it will pay dividends to the district if we can continue to find those opportunities to highlight the great work that our students are doing, from Future City to art programs to theater programs, and I'm very much looking forward to that this year. That being said, are there any additional questions, issues, or topics for conversation? If not, I will ask for a motion to adjourn. Oh, wait, dates, times, meeting. There we go. I'm getting better. Dates, times, and locations of our next meetings. The board will meet in regular session on Monday, March 21st, 2016, and Monday, April the 11th, 2016 at 6 p.m. at the Early Learning Center, 936 East Wind Drive. That being said, if I can ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Bart, if you call the roll, please.
Ms. Cotter?
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson?
Yes.
Dr. Nestor Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo?
Yes.
Mr. Byrd?
Yes, we are adjourned.